Greetings, humans. Greetings, and welcome back to another fun. Well, not really sure about that. Welcome back to the episode here. Bear here, 29-year veteran of the woods, and today it's going to be a little bit of a different show than what we normally do. Normally, we would be kind of talking about some comics, some great comic stuff out there. What's going on in the Comicsgate world and everything. Not really too much to report there. Let's see. Shane Davis and John Balin are kind of going head to head. So if you want to check out either of their comics, please do so. Godlike and oh goodness, Bear can't remember the second comic there, but go check out Shane Davis on Indiegogo there and see if see which team you're on there to figure that out. All right, well, I tell you what, Bear kind of looked ahead in the calendar here a couple weeks back, and it's one of those days that Bear. Where do you start? Where do you start with it and everything? So it's one of those shows that Bear's kind of been dreading. Didn't really want to. You know what, Bear's one of the things that Bear's trying to do is at least do a professional show for you people. Still probably not going to be able to do it here today, but we will do it eventually. But again, I think more or less the show must go on and everything. So what we're going to do today is going to be a lot a lot different than what we are normally going to be talking about in Bear's show here, but hope that you guys can kind of stick along for the ride. Hopefully it's something that thank you, P Money. Greetings. First off, let me just go ahead and right out the gate here, P Money. We're gonna be doing something a little bit different on this show. You probably know what day it is here, so we number one, Bear's tongue is quite red from biting it quite a bit, so definitely trying to hold back on some of that stuff. But what the day entails here, we're gonna be talking about some of that stuff. So if there's little ones around or anything like that, it might not be the best show. But hey, you know what? If they want to learn something, if everybody, one of the things that Bear tries to do is not only keep a fun show, entertaining show, but hopefully at the end of the show, maybe you might have actually learned something along the way. So we're going along the lines of learning something along the way rather than trying to do the fun show. Bear didn't really check out very much what some of the other channels are talking about here today, so he's not really sure where the other channels are coming from with it, but I think Bear's just going to kind of go about it here, and we're going to kind of see where it comes here. So the basic kind of theme for the show here today is a murder mystery. So we're going to be kind of talking about of course, what's going on with today in the, I hate to say anniversary, memorial of the, attacks 20 years ago. So we're going to kind of start out with that in mind as far as a sort of murder mystery. Everybody tries to kind of wrap their arms around, wrap their claws around, as it were, how to kind of discuss things there. We're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to kind of very concentrated talking about just a very few people here. So we're going to start out as the question of the day of who was the very first person that was unfortunately murdered on September 11th. So that's kind of where we're going to begin with that. Not a lot is talked about that. We get hours and hours and hours of television or movies or things like that. And, it doesn't, it's such a big event that people don't realize that there's individuals, people out there, they're it's all different individuals out there. It's not just a whole group of, what they like to try and call them, the masses out there. It's not any of that, so we're going to try and not necessarily be personal about it, but definitely try to talk a little bit about that. So the way that we're going to talk about it is as a murder mystery. Who was the first person that was killed on 9/11? And this isn't any sort of a trick question or anything like that. He's not trying to pull one over on anybody else. This isn't somebody was robbed on or carjacked or something like that, and that's what. No. We're actually talking about what went on, and who was the first person that was murdered that day. So let's just go ahead and kind of set the table here, as it were. We're going to just jump right on into it. Kind of want to go through a timeline. So what we're going to be talking about here today is what was in. Let me see if Bear can find it here. One moment, please. Get to it here. There we go. From our good friends over at NPR. That's the timeline for American Airlines Flight 11. This was unfortunately the very first plane that Bear was going to say crashed, impacted the World Trade Center there. So we're just going to kind of go through that. But hey, if anybody wants to take some guesses or look up on the first person murdered on a lighthearted Bear stream. Yes. No, like Bear was saying, it's not one of those. He circled it on the calendar, trying to figure out what to talk about here today. We could always do hey, let's forget everything and just talk about comics and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. We can do that. There's a couple videos that Bear's uploaded here of Battle Made a Knuckle Bomb to check out and everything. So that's not going to be the show today here. Don't know how long we're going to be doing this show. It kind of depends on how well Bear does here, but. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. Again, P Money. I hope no impressionable people are out there. Just kind of want to get into that. We're not going to. This isn't blood or gore or anything like that. We're not going to. Bear really doesn't like to get into any of that sort of stuff. But anyways, yes, the very first person that was murdered on 9/11. We're going to find out who that is, and it's going to surprise a lot of people. And it might go down a path that people might not like, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to do some of the hard digging here. So let's go ahead and kind of get right on into it from our friends here at. Let me get over to it here at NPR. This is the timeline. Basically, I think they took this from the 2004. It's been a while. Took this from the 9/11 report. So let's just go ahead and get right on into it. September 11th, 2001, a Boeing 767 left Boston's Logan International Airport at 8 a.m., headed over across the continent there to Los Angeles, as it were. When did Bear first watch TV on September 11th? What was going on at that time? For me, it was just the second tower fill. Actually, Bear kind of missed a lot of that stuff, as you would call it, live, I suppose. So when Bear kind of checked things out, again, he, as a number of years ago, Bear was much younger and everything, so didn't really understand at first what was going on there, but woke up and actually both of the towers had already fallen. So was kind of trying to figure out why New York City was on fire. All he saw was the smoke and debris and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't real time for Bear. He actually had to kind of figure out, okay, what just happened, and then of course they showed it over and over again. We'll get to that. We'll get to all that fun stuff here in just a second. But once again, it's kind of a murder mystery here is what we're kind of discussing here. So at 8 a.m. Takeoff from the Logan International Airport there, and they've got all these transmissions here. We're not going to go into a whole lot of that stuff. If you guys want to check that out, go and check it out there at NPR here. 8:13 a.m. aircraft, an air traffic controller, pardon me, at the FAA's Boston Center directed the flight to turn to 20 degrees right. When the flight acknowledged this was the last transmission, which the flight responded. Over the next few minutes, the controller sent a series of instructions and made repeated attempts to contact the pilot. So basically, they took off from Boston, was kind of going through the pattern there and everything, and they were told to, okay, head on this flight path and everything, and they were headed to Los Angeles, as it were. So there we are. At 8:21, American 11 turned off its transponder, making it difficult to track the plane. The controller told his supervisors he thought that something was seriously wrong. The supervisor instructed the controller to follow, here we go, standard operating procedures for a no-ratio aircraft. The controller asked American Airlines to attempt to contact the plane, and as the plane went off route, the controller began moving other aircraft out of its path. In fact, actually, that was kind of a interesting thing there. We're going to talk a whole lot of coincidences. We'll just call it coincidences here. It was very coincidental here. We're talking about American Airlines Flight 11, but actually Flight, let's see, I think it was 175, if I'm not mistaken, was basically hijacked at the same time. And actually, both of those planes, when they were turning to head back to towards New York, they almost ran into each other. That would have been unfortunate for the people on board there, but would have solved a whole lot of grief otherwise for other people there. But anyways, a whole bunch of interesting coincidences that were going on here. And let's see. Oh, okay. It says 8:24 American Airlines 11 sent the following transmissions. And this is where we get into, let me find it here. Let's find our I don't know, how would you call this? Subhuman animals? There we go. Subhuman animals here. We're talking about the first gentleman here, Mohammed Atta. He was the person that would be flying the plane. Well, after they got rid of the pilots, flying the plane there, along with, I believe it was, Satam El. No, not him. It was Omari, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Both of these people were the ones that were flying the plane there. But we are kind of more interested in the murder of what happened on the plane there. So we actually have a number of other people there that were in there as well. Let's see. It's Al-Shahiri, this gentleman right here, and also his retarded brother as well. And that's right, YouTube. I said it. Well, he was. He was retarded. And also this gentleman here. They were the muscle. They were the muscle in the plane. So it was the gentleman with the turban here, El Sakami. He was along with his brother, his retarded brother, in first class. They were at the back of the first class cabin. So what happened was, as far as we can tell, okay. Huge asterisks on all of this. We can only go based on like what we have here, some radio transmissions, second, third-hand information. If you want to think of it again as a sort of murder mystery, the crime scene was an airplane. The airplane flew into the building collapsed. So it's kind of hard to have physical evidence of something that doesn't exist anymore because it's been destroyed. So we're going a little bit on conjecture here. Some people might say, it's some sort of theory. Well, yes, of course, it's a theory there. We don't have all the facts here, and we're trying to blend some of this together. No, there were five. I don't have the picture. You see the gentleman in the turban there. He had his brother come along with him, so there was actually 5 people. Don't recall if there were Bear only kind of okay, let me step back here. Bear, if you were around a little while back, Bear did a story. It was called Can't Happen Here, talking about World War II and everything. Bear wrote the script for that, trying to make it into a movie. Once Bear got done with that, he started on another script. It was dealing with 9/11 here. So in a lot of his research and everything, he kind of narrowed down to Flight 11 here. So there might have been a couple of other, might have been 6 or something like that on some of the other planes. Bear doesn't recall right off the top of his head there, but yes, only 5 hijackers. They actually had a fake. It was a fake bomb. It wasn't real or anything like that. They were trying to keep all the passengers to the back of the plane while they were up front there. It's people had kind of figured out that it wasn't a real bomb or anything like that. I think that they could have overtaken some of the people, like in which one was that? Was it? I think it was 93, the one that went down in Shanksville there. So, yeah, they used a lot of intimidation. So, yeah, the gentleman there in the turban, we believe it could have been his retarded brother was the murderer. So they actually killed this person first, and then basically hijacked the plane, and they were trying to, again, people didn't realize what was going on. They thought it was just a hijacking, so they were going to go back to the airport. In fact, we'll get to it right here. At 8:24 a.m. on September 11th, American Airlines 11 has a radio transmission. We have some planes. This would be Muhammad Atta who is be saying this. We believe, we're pretty sure that it was Muhammad Atta. He would have been the one in the control. And we think, we're not very sure, but we think that he was hitting the transmit button for the radio when he meant to hit the intercom button. So we think he is talking about or talking to the people in the airplane here. We don't think that it is a broadcast transmission. He just accidentally happened to hit the trigger for that there. So he says, we have some planes. Just stay quiet and you'll be okay. We are returning to the airport. So everybody thought that they were going to go back. Again, this happened in very early 2001. So probably people thought that they were going to exchange hostages. They had the blind sheikh who was there. We'll get into the first bombing here in just a minute, but he was the subhuman there, responsible for the first bombing there. So maybe there was going to be some sort of trade or something like that. So everybody was thinking that they were going back to, I think, LaGuardia there. The controllers only heard something unintelligible. He did not hear the specific words. We have some planes. And then again, it says, nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any moves, you'll endanger yourself and the airplane. Again, people were thinking that they had a bomb on board. And just stay quiet. The controller recognized at this point that the flight had been hijacked. At 8:25, let's see, can we see that? Yes. At 8:25, FAA Boston Center managers started notifying their chain of command that American 11 had been hijacked. At 8:28 a.m., Boston Center notified FAA Command Center in Herndon, Virginia, that American Airlines 11 had been hijacked and was heading towards New York Center airspace. Excuse me. At 8:32, command notified FAA headquarters of a possible hijacking. A teleconference was set up with Herndon, Boston, New York, and Cleveland FAA centers. At 8:34 a.m., Boston Center received a third transmission. Nobody move. We are going back to the airport. Don't try to make any stupid moves. So they were getting a little bit restless there in the plane. Again, we don't have a whole lot of information, and a lot of it is second and third hand, but people were probably getting a little bit agitated. And about this point, we're coming in over, what would that be? Probably, well, let's see. It's the Manhattan, Long Island sort of thing there. So we're basically heading down Manhattan there. So people might have been kind of getting a little agitated. In fact, I think there was a one of the stewardesses that was saying that they were getting really low, and a lot of people were getting really agitated there. Oh, P Money asks, or says, I wonder if the planes now have some sort of type of alarm for hijacking. Yes, actually, there was back then, in case the voice contact is muffled, as you mentioned. Yeah, actually, it was. Trying to remember the actual code. There is an actual code out there for hijacking for airplanes that if the pilot can't talk or anything like that. What we believe happened was they came into the cockpit with the razor blades and basically killed either the co-pilot, the captain, or both of them. And again, the two gentlemen there at the top, Atta and what's the other fool's name? Sakami, or no, not him. Omari were behind the controls there. Probably Omari, and Atta was kind of doing the he was kind of the ringleader there. He was actually the ringleader for the entire operation. So, anyways, that's that. Let's go ahead. We know where we're going, but let's continue here. At 8:37 a.m. from Boston Center, the military finally, oh my goodness, through what's called NEADS, or the Northeast Air Defense Sector, receives its first notification that American Airlines 11 had been hijacked. And they have this little kind of back and forth here. It says, from the FAA, "Hi, Boston Center, TMU, we have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys, we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out." The needs asks, "Is this a real world or exercise?" Again, in all of this, there is so many coincidences that kind of go on with this. So they were running actually a hijacking exercise in the military right at the same time that this was going on. So kind of a pertinent question here, whether or not it was an exercise or not. And the FAA responds. It says, "No, this is not an exercise. It's not a test." So needs orders to battle stations. 2 F-15 aircraft alert at Otis Air Force Base, 153 miles away from New York City. So they are just now scrambling. Basically, Flight 11 is pretty much over New York City right now. So even if they blast away and everything, they just aren't going to be able to get there. At 8:46, Major General Larry Arnold orders the aircraft to deploy and calls NORAD. That would be where I'm scrambling these guys to. I need a direction. I need a destination. Because the hijackers had turned off the plane's transponder, the needs personnel spent the next several minutes searching their radioscopes for the elusive primary target. So we actually have the FAA searching for them. We have the military searching for them and everything. So it was all for naught. 40 seconds later, American Airlines 11. There we go. Flies into the World Trade Center, the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Needs at 8:50 learns that the plane had hit the World Trade Center. At 8:53, Otis Air Force Base fighters are airborne and headed towards the Long Island coast. But several minutes later, at 9:08, uncertain of what to do, the Otis fighters are told to hold as necessary, or excuse me, as needed. And basically, they can kind of conclude that Needs was notified about 9 minutes before American Airlines hit the North Tower, and that was the most noticed that the military would receive that morning of any of the 4 hijackings. So that is kind of our timeline of what happened in our murder. What we're doing is a murder mystery here. So we're trying to figure out who was the first person that was murdered in 9/11. Now, obviously, a number of people died. A number of people were killed. We're not trying to discount any of that. In fact, one of the things, Bears, I tell you what, it's been one of those days. Bear kind of, he reaches out. He hopes he can reach out to the families there and, kind of express his sorrow and everything for all of that. We don't try to minimize anybody else there. We're just trying to kind of narrow things down here and kind of use this as a way of explaining a number of other things there. So P Money says, "It's amazing. It seems so impossible to believe. In terrorism, most people thought the first tower was hit by a horrible accident. Yes, they thought that it was a small airplane for some reason. They thought it was a small airplane for some reason, even though they had. Bear didn't pull it up. Normally he'll try and do a little bit more of kind of some research on a lot of that stuff, but didn't pull all that stuff up there. But yeah, it was. Anyways, there was a film crew that was following some of the firefighters there, and they actually caught the footage of it flying overhead and right into the plane, or right into the building there. So, I don't know how, maybe it might be some sort of, we don't want to believe that sort of thing there. Maybe that's what they were going for. But anyways, so oops. Here we go. We have our murderer here. All right, let's see. It's been a couple minutes here. If nobody, P Money, any guesses? Any guesses, P Money here? We'll wait here for just a second if he has any response here. While we're waiting on that, I don't want to kind of diminish anybody else here. We actually have. It's not any of the people here in the. In these tabs here. I thought this was kind of interesting, so I kind of want to go over some of the people that did perish that day. A gentleman named David Engel. He was an American screenwriter and television producer, won multiple Emmy Awards. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to leave that guy up there. There we go. Won multiple Emmy Awards as the creator and executive producer, along with Peter Casey and David Lee of these sitcoms. Kind of ironic here. Wings, and also Frasier. So if you're fans of either Wings or Frasier, unfortunately, this gentleman, he was part of that. And unfortunately passed away there. P Money says, "I'm terrible at murder mysteries." We're going to. We're going to blow some minds here. Well, I'll leave it up here for just another moment. You can take a guess. That's fine. Barry Berenson? I hope it's a Berenson. There we go. Barry Berenson, there you go, was an American photographer and actress and model, and was also married to Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins was Psycho. He was the... Don't mean to laugh there. He was the killer in Psycho there. So there you go. From 1973 until his death in 1992. Unfortunately of AIDS. Died in the September 11th attacks there. A very, very lovely lady there. P Money says, "I watched The Sixth Sense and I didn't even figure out the twist until the credits started rolling." All right. So let's get right to it then. Again, coincidences. That's kind of one of the themes of the show here today is coincidences. So let's go ahead and do it here. Get out of that. Let me get to it. Pardon me here. We will do a professional show one of these days. We will, I promise. All right, here we go. The gentleman's name is Danny Lewin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Danny Lewin, the first man that we think to die on September 11th, 2011 there. What is, not that anybody else was not less worthy or anything like that, but what is so important, other than him being the first man to die on September 11th, what is so important about Danny Lewin? Danny Lewin. Has anybody heard out there of Danny Lewin? I mean, we've got hours and hours and hours of TV programming, memorials everywhere, yada yada, movies. Anybody heard of Danny Lewin? Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Danny Lewin. Anybody out there? Well, let's go ahead and find out who this gentleman is. By the way, sorry people. CNN. There you go. They actually, believe it or not, CNN actually used to be a pretty decent pretty decent news outlet there, but they kind of, let me see, there we go. Kind of went downhill in years since. Let me grab something to drink. All right, and this was, let me find out who this was written by. I want to give them credit. Todd Leopold. Todd Leopold. Thank you very much, sir. Hope you're still around and not going crazy over at CNN. Even by MIT standards. Oh, that Danny Lewin. Nope, not a clue. P-Money, have you ever heard of a small movie, kind of a small independent film called Star Wars 1, The Phantom Menace? Have you heard of that movie? There's a interesting connection there. Interesting connection. He was really exceptionally smart. MIT has a lot of really smart people. And Danny stood out even among that rarefied environment, says Tom Luton, who was one of Lewin's professors at the Massachusetts School Computer Science Laboratory. He liked working on the hardest problems as opposed to the easier ones because they would make more of a difference. That kind of determination drove Lewin throughout his short life. He was an American who joined the Israeli army and served in an elite unit, though he could have avoided military altogether. He was a mathematician who could have a stellar academic career, but decided to jump into business. P-Money says, I've tried to block Phantom Menace. It caused me post-traumatic stress. Well, I'm sorry about that. Most importantly, in the late 90s, he saw a solution to what was then called the World Wide Wait. There we go. And his company, Akamai Technologies, co-founded with Leighton, made the web faster and more efficient. Lewin died on September 11, 2001, at age 31. He was on American Airlines Flight 11. We just talked about that. And the first plane to hit the World Trade Center, and was almost certainly the first person killed in the attacks on that horrible day. Now, again, we have this gentleman here. We believe it was just gentleman, either that or it was his retarded brother. I keep saying retarded brother, and I do mean that. He was a mentally deficient individual. So there you go. We believe he sat, I don't have the proper row numbers right in front of me here, but sat behind Danny Lewin, and we believe that's why he was the first person to die there. Let's see, let's go back to it. His life is now the subject of a new biography, No Better Time, the brief, remarkable life of Danny Lewin, the genius who transformed the internet. There you go. There you go. So you might want to check that out sometime. If you've never heard, much like P-Money, much like a lot of people, if you've never heard of Lewin, you're not alone, says the book's author. That was partially true to his low-profile life and business. Akamai is an infrastructure company, and Lewin wasn't flashy with his instant.com millions, and partially because his family and friend shed away from publicity. But she believes it's a life that deserves to be celebrated. Yes, Bear will echo that. Even at 31, she says, he had already accomplished so much. There were so many different elements, she said. His military service, his business leadership, his intellect, his savvy, and she wanted to convey some of that energy to others. It was about the way he lived. It felt like he was motivating me so much, I felt like it could do the same for readers. Yeah, so there you go, if you want to check out that book. No Better Time. No Better Time. There we go. Okay. It gets, this gets very interesting. From the beginning, Lewin seemed destined for big things. Even as a child, he was an accomplished violinist, performer, and athlete. He loved computers, learning to program an Apple II. His father bought him home in 1979 when he was only 9 years old. In 1984, his family decided to move to Israel, and Lewin grew up near Jerusalem. He often spent as much time weightlifting as on his schoolwork. The book notes, nevertheless, he aced his classes while developing an enviable physique. That's the lady talking there, not Bear. The latter would serve him well when he joined the Israeli Defense Forces and tried out for, this is important here, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Sayeret Matakal. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm probably slaying that terribly there, but there you go. Tried to underline it there for you. A secretive unit known for the famed 1976 rescue on Uganda's Entebbe Airport. Israel was key to shaping Lewin's temperament, says this lady. Moving to Israel was like lighting a fire under his drive. He wanted to squeeze every last drop out of every minute, out of every hour, out of every day. Wow. The imprint of the country's intensity and people's blunt manner were obviously to anyone who met him years later. Some Akamai colleagues found him abrasive, and Lewin, who had a fondness for words, joked about being, obstinacious. I'll forget it, whatever. But he was also terrifically loyal. We'll do a professional show one of these days here. He was terrifically loyal, supportive of staff, and worked as hard as anybody. Bear looks to a man for their appetizing physique. Not today, P-Money, not today. He was motivated, so if you did kick your butt and tell you to work harder, generally people responded very well to that. All right, so I wanted to get to this is talking about the Akamai business that he started. Anyways, here we go. The company struck pay dirt on an unlikely day, March 11th, 1999. That Tuesday, two events shook the web. The opening of the NCAA men's basketball tournament and the first streaming of the trailer for the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. While servers crashed all around the country, Akamai-supported machines handled the surge, and the company started taking off. So, if it wasn't for this gentleman here that was able to figure out how to make streaming, hey, we've got some streaming going on right now. If it wasn't for him, you might not have been able to see the trailer for Star Wars Episode 1. You might not even have a bear today on the internet talking about any of this. So there you go. Oh, yeah. P-Money. My daughter had to ask me what happened today 20 years ago. I felt bad that I never thought to really tell her about the story about today. It's a lot to get around. It's a lot to get around. And that's why we're trying to focus in. That's why we're trying to focus in just a little bit. So, anyways, the crash came of 2000, the .com companies folded, and by 2001, Akamai stock was selling for less than $5. I wonder what it's selling there for today. Anyways, there is a plaque in a park in Cambridge, Massachusetts, for Danny Lewin. So there we go. Anyways, there we go. 9B. Thank you. So I think it was 10B that was right behind it. Lewin was sitting in seat 9B. With his Israeli military training and understanding of Arabic, he may have figured out what was going on, perhaps even tried to stop it. According to flight attendants' calls relayed to authorities on the ground, so again, we're going kind of second and third hand here, the first passenger to be killed was seated in 9B, and he was, unfortunately, stabbed to death. Friends have always pondered the what-ifs, and Lewin may have finished his PhD, something that would always nag him. Friends thought he could have entered Israeli politics, or he could have become a high-tech household name like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. There you go. And those that knew him felt like the world was robbed. Yes, indeed. All right, so coincidences. P-Money says, I was in high school. There you go. When the Phantom trailer came out, and I remember a bunch of us in class huddled at a computer to watch it. Well, if you were able to watch it, you might want to give a shout out to Danny here. All right, coincidences. Let me go back here and let me find, see if I think I highlighted it here. Pardon me here. Yes. So we're talking, and again, this isn't anything that's sort of conspiratorial. I don't want to get anybody. This isn't Friday Night Tights, for example, where we just kind of go off on the tangent of strange stuff. We tell people we're not going to talk about politics, and then have certain radio hosts come on and totally blow that out to the window. But we will give the Phantom Menace, or excuse me, yeah, the Phantom Menace people. They're due another time. Not today though. Not today. So the again, I don't know how you pronounce this. The Sayeret Metic. Oh, I can't do this. Hold on, I gotta. Getting all choked up here. So, what is this secretive unit that he was part of in the past here? So we went ahead, looked it up. I'm not even going to. Oops, what happened there? There we go. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name, just the secretive unit here. We'll just call it Unit 269. There we go. There we go. 269 or 262, whichever it was. Bear does not speak Hebrew. He needs to be able to get struck by lightning again before he does that. Jeff Potts, hey, good to see you here. We are doing a crazy, totally different show. We're talking a little bit about the events that went on today. We're talking about the very first person that was murdered on 9/11 and kind of some of the stuff that was going on then. So, again, kind of a different show. If you want to stick around, great. If not, hey, Bear will understand. Believe me. This is not fun for Bear either. All right, Unit 269. The Special Reconnaissance Unit of the General Staff, or simply called the Unit, is the prime Special Forces unit of the Israeli Defense Force. First and foremost, a field intelligence gathering unit conducting deep reconnaissance behind enemy lines to obtain strategic intelligence. The unit is also tasked with counterterrorism and hostage rescue beyond Israel's borders. The unit is modeled after the British Army's Special Air Service, the SAS, taking the unit's motto, "Who dares wins." The unit is the Israeli equivalent of the U.S. Army's Delta Force and is directly subordinate to the Special Operations Branch of the IDF. So that is the background of this gentleman here, Danny Lewin. Danny Lewin was unfortunately the first person that was murdered on 9/11. He was sitting right in front of one of the hijackers, who unfortunately stabbed him to death. Again, we're talking about very coincidental stuff. Coincidences all over the place here. It kind of, we'll go to the notable members here just real quickly here. Might know some people. Benjamin Netanyahu. A couple of other people there that, Naftali Bennett, he's the current Israeli prime minister. A couple of other people there, Uzi Yari, there you go. Benjamin Netanyahu's brother, who was killed on the Operation Entebbe. So this isn't any just kind of normal, everyday, hey, army unit, anything like that. This is a very specialized unit. In fact, you'd probably say that out of the very few people in the world that would know how to deal with a hostage crisis and hostage situation would be our gentleman here, Danny Lewin here. So once again, it kind of asks a question of why motive. We're talking about a murder mystery here, Jeff Potts. So what was the motive to murder this gentleman on the airplane before it crashed into the World Trade Center there? That's kind of a unanswered question there. We probably will never know. Again, we can only go based on what would be kind of supposition kind of trying to figure out what was going on with that. Let me see. Let me get back to. Man, I tell you what, this is all just very depressing stuff. Let me just. Well, I'll leave it on this gentleman. People should know. People should know this gentleman here. We're not going to duck or jive on this one. I'm not going to duck or jive on this one. Here's Bear's thoughts. Here is Bear's thoughts on the situation. Wouldn't know for certain. And again, Bear had to go back because he was writing a screenplay on this. So he was trying to figure out, the different personalities. We talked about the script writer for Wings, ironically enough, and Frasier, and the lovely lady, the photographer lady. Trying to figure out the different the different people on board. They're on Flight 11 there, trying to figure out, what their, motivation and all this sort of stuff behind it. Even try to figure out all the motivation behind the hijackers and all that stuff. Very, very, very depressing, very, all that sort of stuff. P Money says, I'm going to tell my wife about Danny as soon as I get offline. Thank you, P Money. Thank you. Here's Bear's thoughts on this. He doesn't think that this is a coincidence. I think this was there's a term describing a lot of the terrorists that we have, especially recently. You would think, what was it? The Pulse nightclub shooting, the San Bernardino shootings, several other incidents there as well. What's his name? I keep trying to call him Vidal Sassoon. Nidal Hasan, the gentleman that was the Army major, I think, over there at Fort Hood that shot up a bunch of people. Basically, what they were known is called known wolves. So the either intelligence services or the police agencies have known about these people, and basically they're trying to gather intelligence and follow along with them. We probably had some sort of indication that some sort of possible hijacking was going to take place around this time. We had a number of incidences with some of the same hijackers here, some different people as well. They would be in first class and would go open up the cockpit door. Oh my goodness, I thought this was the bathroom. I'm sorry. And they came to figure out that maybe some of this was a little bit of planning of what was going on here with what happened 20 years ago here today. So Bear's thoughts is possibly a number of these different agencies probably knew about what was going on and were following, especially somebody like Mohammed Atta, for example, or some of the other hijackers there. They probably didn't know that there was going to be a hijacking that day. They were probably just trying to figure out, who these people were, what they were doing, that sort of deal. So in Bear's guesstimation here, Mr. Lewin might have actually known about the hijackers, or probably even if he didn't, wasn't involved in any sort of, theories that Bear has here. Probably, like the article says here, heard them talking in Arabic and probably could kind of figure out what they were talking about, and might have tried to stop it at some point. It's very interesting that the one gentleman who would have been able to stop, especially the first hijacking, the first airplane there, was the person that would have been most capable of doing so, just based on his background and training that he had there. So there's a whole number of just very odd coincidences that kind of line up. You have one coincidence, okay, two coincidences, well, maybe three coincidences. It gets a little bit, you kind of start to ask some questions there. And then of course you get labeled all sorts of stuff. We're not going down that route. We're not saying that any sort of, it was intentionally brought down or anything like that. And there's this giant conspiracy. No, there's probably things that we don't know that we are either going to never know or that are probably being held from us. That are probably people can probably try to guess, and they might be true, but we're never really going to know. So we got to kind of do a lot of supposition there and trying to figure out some of that stuff. So, anyways, it's kind of an interesting thing, interesting way of kind of doing this as a sort of murder mystery. What was the motive behind? Who's this fool here? This guy here, or his retarded brother, killing Mr. Lewin here to take over the airplane and once again flying it into the World Trade Center there, and all these sorts of stuff that happened afterwards. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, once again, it's kind of one of those shows that Bear kind of really didn't want to do. Not necessarily the show must go on type sorts of situation, but you kind of want to be able to at least be able to step back. Not everything is jokes and games and all that stuff. You do kind of got to look out in the world and kind of see what's going on, and at least kind of take a look back and kind of see what's going on, with some of them. So anyways, that's kind of Bear's talk for today. If you guys got any questions, Bear will try to answer some of that. Like he said, he did a screenplay a while back. Actually got it was in kind of an online publication there, so it got placed. If you really wanted to do some research, you can probably find it if you really want to do the research on that. But this isn't the day or the time to be promoting anything like that. Just the bona fides of how Bear kind of came across some of this stuff, and usually try to do a little bit better job of the research and stuff like that. This wasn't something that was meant to be kind of the research side of things wasn't really meant to be as a sort of show or thing to show to other people. So that's might be why it's a little bit short here. Bear can kind of bring some of the other stuff in, like, let's see, what was it? The Phoenix FIB office, or the San Diego FIB office there, where they were monitoring the ins and outs in some of the embassies, or excuse me, not embassies. What's the consulates there, or the Phoenix people that were, looking at the people that were trying to go to flight school to take off but not land so much, or maybe some of the stuff out to Florida. So yeah. Anyways, that's kind of the show there. So I do hope you guys appreciated it. Was not thank you, Pig Money, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. It's one of those shows that's hard for Bear actually. Very quickly, Bear did Bear did the World War II story, World War II script, moved on to the 9/11 script there, and you're talking about very not fun stuff. So anyways, Bear wanted to do something fun, so that's not necessarily the genesis of the channel or anything like that. It's not a point A to point B, but yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons that Bear, we try to have fun. We try to have fun on the show here, but today just wasn't that day. So once again, hope you people actually, if not entertained, at least learn something here, and maybe like P Bunny says, be able to share that with other people. So that's pretty much where we are here. So thank you, P Money. Thank you, Jeff Potts. Thank you, everybody else that might have stopped by. But man, oh man, he is not talking about comics today. What the hell is going on with this show? We do appreciate you as well. Like you said, we normally do these Wednesdays and Saturdays. Just happened to the Saturday show just happened to land on today. So we'll get back to the normal stuff. Bear does want to talk about the complete beclowning of the Fandom Menace people. That's kind of a whole other topic that Bear didn't want to talk about here today. Not the people out there that just want good movies and stuff like. No, Bear's just talking about the YouTube personalities and the sorts of situations that's going on there. But that'll be for Wednesday. That'll be for another time. Today was kind of a special day here for everybody. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. We will see you next time. Thanks for showing up, and take care, everybody. Hope you enjoy your weekend. All right, everybody.